Welcome to Peaceful Prosperity. It is a true honor to be joined for our client spotlight today, the one and only Sarah Larbi. Sarah is just absolutely one of the most powerful and inspiring people. She is, if you don't know her, she's a real estate investor, a real estate developer, a speaker, a coach, a mentor, all the things. She's the co-host of Everyday Investor, of one of the most popular real estate investing and business podcasts, Where Should I Invest? And very, very excited to have you here and share with us your experience.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited, and it's good to see you after a little bit. I think it's been a year and a half.
I know the last couple of years have been such a whirlwind, and I'm looking back at when we worked together, it was like during the middle of everything just being off the rails.
Yeah, I remember being so angry. Nonsense and then shutdowns.
Who wasn't? It was such a level of disruption. And I think it's interesting because I was reviewing some of the sessions that we had together.
Right. Yeah.
And I was just looking at it. I'm like, wow, it almost, as challenging as it was in many respects, health, money, jobs, stuff like that. It's really interesting how it unfolded for you and actually how it kind of helped you in your journey. But, before we get started, can you just share a little bit about what motivated you to connect with me and do this work with me?
Yeah. I mean, I had you on my podcast, on my Where Should I Invest podcast. And sometimes you just connect with people differently, right? Than others. And I'm just like, this guy, I have to get, I've got it. I just wanted to hire you because you were talking about it. And I'm like, this is what I need. And back then, I can't remember, maybe it was 2018-ish, give or take, that we
19.
connected, maybe 19. And I was just in a weird place where I was just going and going. I was so burnt out, like so tired, working for the grind and, had a corporate job and I enjoyed it. And then I'm just like, there's got to be something, there's got to be some light. And you were on my podcast and I felt like we connected. So I reached out to you and that's kind of how it happened. I hired you from there.
That's actually, that's pretty unusual, I think. I was getting interviewed on your podcast, and then after we stopped recording, you're like, so how do I book a call with you to talk about? I'm like, whoa, that was, I was not expecting that. I think it's really interesting that you share about, you were burnt out and it was a very challenging time for you. While at the same time, I think for a lot of people who have been following your journey, right? Like your real estate investing journey, your podcast, Right Club, which is your networking group. A lot of people look up to you, and at that time for you to be going through that as well behind the scenes, I think it's important for us to recognize that we can be killing it on many fronts, but it doesn't mean that we don't have our own challenges and things that we need to face as well. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, it was just, I was saying yes to so many things, and it wasn't the real estate, like transactions per se, or the, like me as an investor. It was the podcast, the Right Club, like all the other like webinars and meetings and things that I was saying yes to just consumes you. Right. So then if I was working from like 8 a.m. to 5 or 6 p.m., and then I say yes to everything, all the webinars, all these, and like your day could go from like, I remember waking up at 4 a.m. That used to be my wake up time because I wanted to get to the gym and I wanted to work out because that was still important. But I'd wake up at 4 and I probably would work until 10. And it was, I'm happy that I did it now because I don't think I would be where I am today if I didn't grind it out. But I probably could have like enjoyed my life a little bit more during that grind. And it was probably like a good solid 2 years of just going and going and going. But looking back at it is worth it. But yes, I was definitely exhausted.
I remember you were, when in the beginning, you did share with me your schedule, right? I'm like, wow, amazing. Sarah is all about, fitness and healthy lifestyle, waking up early, getting after it. But then like it goes to the opposite extreme where you're really trying to get it all out by 10 p.m. like, and then you're just hitting repeat. And I think one of the things that you said to me was like this, like I can't keep going this way.
Yeah.
Like what
Yeah.
I
There's
what
got
I've
to be
been
something.
doing,
There's got
I
to be
can't keep.
something better. Yeah.
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 And do you remember that there was a time where I'm just like, why did you get into real estate in the first place? Do you remember what you said?
Freedom.
And then I asked you, I'm like, so how free are you?
Yeah. No, exactly. And I was still working 9 to 5. And I think it took some time. I actually, and unfortunately, it's annoying, but it took the pandemic to force me to actually stop, breathe, and see where I was at, to realize I didn't have to be doing what I was doing to the extent I was doing. And so, I mean, the whole thing was really annoying, and I have my own opinions. We won't get political about all this nonsense in the last couple of years, but it, in the beginning, it actually forced me to stop, because I don't know if I would have had the even time to say, okay, I've got to just like rejig where I was going, rethink my strategy. I was just going and going and going, and I was overbooked. And I think when you're overbooked, you just like, you don't have time to plan as well. You don't have time to think as well. So looking back, I mean, I don't think I would ever want to be back in that spot, but I also think it helped me accelerate to where I am today, regardless, even though it was a shitty 2 years, in the sense of like my schedule was just jam-packed with speaking here, speaking there, webinars here, podcasts here, now I say no to a lot more stuff, and it feels a lot better.
You know what? And yeah. I think it's important to note that it's appropriate behavior for a specific part of your journey. But as a long-term strategy, just won't work. It's not sustainable. I think when you're in the early stages, you're trying to get started. Yeah, you say yes to as many things as you can. But what's so cool about what you just said is just like, I know during that time you were like, okay, it's almost so good what I have. And you were like in real honest communication with your higher ups. So they knew what you were up to. And so it wasn't like you were like, you were totally transparent, totally in integrity with it. And so you had it good, and it makes it difficult to leave something good.
That's it. I was making, I want to say, between 120 and 150 a year, depending on the year. And then I got like my lunch. I got a credit card with an unlimited amount. I could like work for work related purposes. But I was also like, I had a great relationship with my boss, and I got so much stuff done. And I probably had the ability to do two people's jobs very efficiently when I was there. And I think that also allowed me to have a little bit of freedom of like, if I want to take some time off to just go see some properties, and have that good relationship, for sure. That helped. But yeah, it was hard to leave, because I wasn't leaving a $60,000 job. I was leaving a really good paying job. I mean, I guess really good is relative, because the more you get paid in that kind of world, the more taxes you pay. But at the end of the day, I actually had a great relationship, and I still do, with my manager at the time and the company. And they treated us so well and gave us so much that it wasn't like a typical sales jobs, because I've left typical sales jobs in the past. I didn't care if I had a backup, no backup. I was just done because of the culture. But the culture where I last was, which is absolutely amazing, and that makes it harder.
It does, because it's almost, I think we may have had conversations where you're like, if only they were more like dysfunctional, or they did something wrong, and then it would be so much easier to leave. But it's great here. Like, I like it here. And then the way the pandemic positioned you was, if like you had all the intentionality of, okay, I'm going to transition to less hours, to part-time, and then eventually work my way out. But it really wasn't until the world happened. And it put you in that situation where you were forced to reflect. Can you share what happened when you were forced to kind of like slow down? Obviously you're in sales, so there's not as many meetings. I think we were doing sessions. You were at the cottage during that time, and you're reading your books. Tell us about how the contrast between.
I mean, I think it was a shock. It was a shock to my body. But before that, I was actually in talks with the company about going down to part-time. So it was in the queue. And then when the pandemic happened and like everything shut down, I think I was just like, okay, so, how do I pivot? What do I do? And then, I think slowly I was just like, oh, this isn't bad. I have a little bit more time. And then you have time to reflect. But I will tell you, I don't like, I'm a salesperson, I think, as at heart, where I like to actually be in front of people and like out there. The whole working remotely, for somebody else for a job and not having that interaction and the connection is probably not ideal for me. And it was not ideal for me. And that probably also pushed me because I didn't get that same interaction, the same energy from being around other people. I think it probably helped slow things down. And then I started reanalyzing, and yeah, I ended up going to the cottage. I looked at CDC numbers and I'm like, all right, like, the numbers don't make any sense for why we're locked down. I went to the cottage. I had some friends over. I mean, it is what it is, like, well, we won't get into that whole thing, but, I think it was in May or June of 2020. I told my boss that I was going to be leaving. I looked at my income at that point in time, what I accomplished, and I think I was limiting myself into what I could do moving forward. I didn't know what it was going to be, but like, I knew that I was doing myself a disservice by not doing my own thing. And I knew that if I was going to go for freedom, why not just take it now? So it seemed like a great opportunity. Everything was going remote, not ideal for me. And so I told him, I think I was having a glass of wine on the dock, and, they were super supportive, and I gave them until October 1st. So I'm like, I just want to make sure I leave on good terms. Like, I don't want to burn any bridges. Like, they had been so good to me, and it's a great company. And so I just wanted to make sure that I left in the best possible terms. And so October 1st of 2020 is the official day that I left the 9-to-5 job. And I didn't necessarily know what I was doing next. I just knew that like, I didn't need the job income anymore. It was getting in the way, and I had enough, income for the freedom that I wanted. But, as a lot of entrepreneurs can't just sit there and do nothing. So opportunities come, and then you just start getting busy in a different sense. I'm still doing tons of stuff today. I would have never thought where I would be today would be, when I was sitting on the dock deciding that I was going to leave the 9-to-5. I didn't know it was going to be like, I think I bought like 10 deals in the last year, and then I have 2 development projects since then. Like, since I left, I actually have probably acquired way more stuff and done so much more. And then the opportunities kind of just, come around, and then you'd have the ability to say yes, or you have the ability to say no. And I'm definitely having a lot more fun. Now I have I basically take May to Labor Day off. So like May 17th to essentially Labor Day is like my cottage time. So now I live up there in the summer. I get to work on an awesome resort. We're building on a resort. So we're going to do some retreats and everything like that. And a lot of other conversion projects. I've met some great partners, and we started just buying a ton of stuff. And it's funny because I didn't know what I was going to do next. I didn't even know if I wanted to buy more real estate next. I just kind of wanted my freedom. But it's funny because I can't just sit still. I think that's what I realized. I just need to balance it out a little better versus what I was doing back in the day.
I love that. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. It's been
Thanks.
2 years, just over 2 years. And in terms of what you've created and attracted, it's freaking mind blowing. And I think so much of it, the part that you said, the reflection time, I remember you brought that up a lot. You were like, okay, because I don't have time to reflect, how am I supposed to know if I'm working on the right thing, if I'm doing the right thing? And I think you don't need to have all this reflection time, but there's just this ability to step back for a little bit and strategize and game plan again. And then you just execute it. You're like, okay, no, this is my path. And then look at what it ultimately unlocked for you, way more than you probably would have imagined you were capable of. And it's so freaking cool to see.
Yeah, no, it's fun. And I actually am having fun. I get to, travel. I was just saying before this, where I think we're going to Florida for a month. We just came back from Mexico. I hate winter with a passion. So now I have the ability to do that. And really cool too. I think what it also allowed me to do is so my spouse is actually off for a year as well. So he took a year off to have more freedom. Thank you to real estate, because otherwise we wouldn't be where we are today. Now he's probably going to go back, or he's going to job share or figure out what he wants to do, because he's not in the real estate piece per se. And it is important for him to have something that he's kind of driving towards and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, again, it's just an opportunity, I think, to slow down when you leave your 9-to-5 job and rethink what you want. I mean, I don't think it's for everybody. You don't buy one house and decide to quit, especially not in this market. It's hard. But you can't, I think it took me 7 years from the time I bought my first one to, when I left. Could it have taken me a little bit less? Sure. But like we talked about, like I actually really enjoyed what I was doing, and the circumstances at that time were my old boss's wife was really sick and she ended up passing away. So he stepped out of the business for a bit, and I was not, they were so loyal to me. I was not just going to leave them high and dry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we talked about that a few times too, right? In our calls.
Yeah. I mean, you had such a sense of responsibility in terms of your role, which made it even, it just added another layer of complication in terms of, your readiness to leave. It's like you're ready, but you're not ready to let go. You're ready to move on, but you're not ready to let go fully. What would you say were the wins, the breakthroughs that really stand out for you the most during that time that we worked together?
I think it was just like a good pause for me to be able to like put the computer aside, put everything aside, put the noise aside, and just have like a conversation about like you questioning me and trying to like give you the answers, right? And reflecting, being able to actually take the time back then when I was so busy. It was helpful because it was like an hour of trying to figure my goals out myself, how to maneuver through, to get to my goals. And then just having somebody challenge and question, I think that was good. I think that was helpful. And the exercises and the assignments, though I won't lie, I didn't do all of them. I'm not the best. I did some. It was hard.
You had a pretty full plate.
Yeah, I had a full plate. But I think just even the conversations of like having somebody like challenge me on what I was doing and what I was thinking, and having
what was the most sounding board. What did I challenge you the most on? Like, what do you think it was that stands out for you that created like an aha or more clarity for you?
Probably my schedule and the freedom piece, and how I overbooked myself on everything. I would say that's probably the top.
Yeah, just saying yes to everything, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you started to know and think a little bit more about what you actually wanted and what was going to move you forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I remember some calls I was just so exhausted. And I think we had some video calls where like, you're like, Sarah, you look like crap. I don't think you'd actually say it like that. You probably said something like, you look really tired.
I would not dare say that. I think actually, you know what? I think that there was a time where you came on and you said, my mother-in-law said I aged.
Oh yeah.
I think it's the last time I saw her.
Right.
Last time she saw me. And I think that's when we hit it, right? I think there was a part there, because a big piece was, well, what is it costing you? That's something that I constantly ask. Well, what is it costing you to be holding on to this and not moving forward to the next thing, right? Like you say you're all about freedom, but this is like the least free that you feel. What is that costing you? And I think the part that really hit me was when you said my youth.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was such a fundamental moment, like in our conversations, because I think it woke something up.
Yeah, we only have one life, and we only have one life while we're young.
I know, and now you're having more fun, like and just seeing what you're up to is amazing. What advice would you give to people who are stepping into this type of work on themselves, to be challenged about where they're at and what they want to create? What would you say to them?
I mean, I think it's not a quick process, but I think it's good for somebody else to be able to pinpoint your blind spots and to challenge you on things. Because a lot of people are like, Sarah, you're awesome. Sarah, you're that's great. But like, you also need some people once in a while to tell you some things that you don't want to hear, and, challenge you on the status quo, because I don't think you can grow otherwise. So I think that is key.
Yeah. I think when you are, as you're achieving such an incredible level of success and notoriety, people look up to you. I think sometimes it's not as much valuable. Like, it's not as much valuable when it comes to, it's like, oh, you're amazing, you're awesome. Like, it's great. Like, thank you for the validation, for the praise and the acknowledgement. Like, there's times where we need that. But I think there's parts in our journey where it's like, I need someone to just poke at me, to poke holes through all my nonsense and actually reflect back at me what I might not be seeing about myself. And I think that friction, that challenge is what creates some energy for the next part of your process, your purpose, so that's important.
Yeah, for sure. It is.
Tell us about all the amazing things that you are working on now, because there's so much that you are up to, right? Like you have programs, you have developments, tell us about what you're the most excited about in terms of your work now.
The most excited about would probably be Inspire Beach Resort, which is land that I bought with 2 partners last year. One is also a great mentor of mine, and we are building a 9 cottage, adults only themed resort, nice and upscale, on 6 acres of land. It is a 5-year project. We have 3 done now, 3 cabins. They're beautiful. And we're going to be hosting retreats and events and corporate events and all of that good stuff. So I think that's fun because it's like not only just real estate, but it's also a business in itself. And I love retreats. I might as well do my own. And so, that would probably be my top, followed by, I would say, the midterm rental company that we are launching. Again, I have 2 partners, different partners in this one. And I think that has a lot of upside because from a real estate investor standpoint, there's a lot of bylaws coming with short term. There's a lot of issues with, especially in Ontario, with the RTA and the rules, the tenant landlord rules. And so that midterm market is that nice in between. And I think we're really spearheading that movement, and we're creating a really cool business around it. So I'm excited about that. I would say those are my top 2. And then just being able to spend, like, aside from, the projects, because I do have probably 10 other projects on the go. A lot of them are conversions. We're doing a 22 unit conversion project. So like, those are all fun. But aside from like all the businesses and all the real estate that I'm doing, I think it's just a matter of like, now I have the freedom to travel. I have the freedom to, also do what I do remotely, right? I love what I do. I still love the podcast. I still, enjoy filming, Everyday Investor on TV with Rav. And I enjoy all that stuff, but now I can do it all from anywhere. And having that freedom finally is, it's worth it. And being able to spend time with Matt, and like now we can travel together. He's off for, a year and enjoying, some jujitsu and different things like he's doing. I think that's really exciting. And I have I feel like I have lots of other things on the go, but like you kind of I started delegating out a lot. I've started hiring people. Like I have a staff like of, I don't know, 5 or 6 right now. Some part-time, some full-time. And that helps as well. So I can still do some things that are fun. I can still do things, but it's not just me doing it,
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. And before we hit the record button on this, the thing that really stands out for me when we're catching up is you started off with what's going on with your life. Like you're traveling, you just came back, and your spouse is taking time off, and like you're able to enjoy this freedom. And I feel like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I think you would have started the conversation off with something else completely. It's like what I'm doing, what I'm working on, this and this and this. And actually it's more like, hey, I'm having fun. Like we're enjoying we're more flexible. I can be anywhere. And I think what's really awesome to see is that you are living more and more these things that you value.
Yeah, for sure.
You're embodying
it. And that's what it's about. It's, and I'm still learning, and I'm not saying I'm perfect even to this day. Cause I still, I still like to say yes to things. I don't say yes to as many things, but I don't think it's ever going to be a perfect science, but I think I'm much further ahead than I was back in 2018, 2019. But yeah, it is about like living and creating your life on your terms and the freedom, if that's what we want. And many investors, that's what they would look for, right? Is that freedom. And I think one of the challenges is that I was so focused, and this is still a challenge to this day, And I was so focused on leaving my 9 to 5 and having that freedom that I didn't think so far ahead for what is the next big thing. What are the next big goals, right? Yes, now I have the freedom and I have the ability to do some fun things, but I also have the ability to potentially leave a huge legacy and do something even bigger. And so I don't know exactly what that looks like today, but I know that I still have to, I think, iron out that next goal for the next part of my life.
Wow, that's such a great point, because you are so focused on, I need to leave my job, and it kind of everything was, your whole mindset was revolving around that. And I think it's really natural to really focus on, I call it the size of the pain, right? The size of the loss, like, oh, I'm going to lose the stability. I'm going to lose this great team that I love working for, this history, these relationships, I'm going to lose all that. As opposed to thinking about what's the size of the game when I do leave. Like, what am I missing out on? Like, not like FOMO, but in terms of what could I unlock for myself if I did move forward and stepped into the unknown for myself. Well, that version of you didn't know that your process would be unfolding like this, with 10 different projects, with being on TV, with having a development, with having a resort, and like all of this flexibility, and then your spouse taking time off. Like, I don't think that was part of the decision-making process. It was all kind of centered around the present. And I think if we are trying to create the future, just focusing on what we have in the present or in the past, as opposed to just like really looking at the future from the future, because you don't know what you're capable of, what will happen. I think it'll open up completely new doorways for you. And I think that's what it's done.
Yeah, it has. And I'm still trying to figure out exactly what it is, but I think there's so much potential. And, and you don't want to think too small. You don't want to do too and not that I've done so much, but what is that next big goal that really puts fire under me every single day? And I'm having fun, and I love the freedom, and I love the travel, and I love what I'm doing now. But like, I'm 38, there's more to it, right? So like, how much more can I achieve, while still maintaining the fun that I'm having right now?
Well, I'm excited for you to uncover what's next and see all the new amazing things that you're going to be up to. Like I love that you're having fun, and then that you're enjoying it, and it's freeing you up to be able to question and ask these types of things, where it's like, okay, what's the next big thing for me? Because I feel like sometimes we think a goal is so big and we focus on it so much, like, let's say quit my 9 to 5, right? And then you get to the other end of it and you're like, wait, what do I do now? It's important to have something kind of a little bit in place afterwards, because then you realize that that's part of the human journey, right? Like, you get to the top of a mountain and you're at the bottom of another one.
That's
constantly.
That's exactly. And I don't know if I knew that then. I was so, and you said it bang on. I was so focused on leaving, and then I had the freedom, and I love it. But there's got to be another new journey now, another big journey. And like, yes, there's the resort, yes, there's the projects, but aside from the real estate, like, what is that next big thing?
Yeah. Well, I think you're helping people. I think you're inspiring people. I think with your coaching and your speaking and your podcast, I think it's really giving people an idea of what they could be capable of as well. Because you started from scratch. Like, follow Sarah's journey, started literally from nothing. And now, like, it's only been a few short years later, accomplishing so damn much. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Tell us about where to find you and to follow you.
The best would probably be on my website, sarahlarbi.com. They can send me an email, which is sarah@sarahlarbi.com, or if it's not hacked, it gets hacked a lot, my Instagram, which is investor Sarah Larbi. Oh God. Anyways, this whole other story for another day. But right now it's not hacked. So investor Sarah Larbi on Instagram. Or Inspire Beach Resort on Instagram. That one probably doesn't have, the hacking visibility yet. We'll see what happens. But
my gosh.
I want to say every week there's it's a big scam like that's going around. People just create fake profiles and try to sell some Bitcoin and nonsense. And anyways.
Yeah.
hopefully they can figure that piece out. But my email is good, sarah@sarahlarbi.com, or the podcast, Where Should I Invest?
Amazing. Sarah, what an honor. So much fun to work with you, and so much I think it's so inspiring to see where you were, like burnt out, working like 80 hours a week. And then now look at you. Like I feel like you're in a place where you had dreamed of, like it's just a possibility, but you're here. And I celebrate you for doing all that work and digging so damn deep to actually create this for yourself. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. And thanks for also pushing me and the challenging talks, over probably a couple years, I would say.
It's been an honor and it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you.